everyone, and welcome to the 60th episode of the Social Z Franchise Happy Hour. I can't believe Luis and I made it to 60 episodes, but we did. So happy to have our next guest, Mr. Matt Boden, with us. He is not too far from me as the crow flies, but a long way as people drive down in Tampa. Matt, how are you? How's the weather down there?
It's doing great. It's hot as ever, just like typical Florida weather. Storming 20 minutes a day and blows right out.
Sure. And Matt, are you in Tampa proper? Or are you in a suburb area? Where are you at?
Yeah, I'm in Tampa proper. We work all over the Tampa market.
Awesome. Well, to kick us off, if you could take 60 to 120 seconds and tell us what you're either reading right now or what are you doing to spend your time on personal development?
So my personal development goals here, because I always look at it short-term, long-term. And short-term is to really get this business off the ground and get it moving in that right direction that I know it needs to be. Freshcoat has been around for 20 years now, and I'm very fortunate to be a part of it in the Tampa market. It's been a long time that Freshcoat has been not here in the Tampa market, so it's nice to bring that quality of business to the Hillsborough County residents.
Sure. And Matt, I want to talk more about your business and kind of how you got there, but let's go back a little bit further and talk about where you grew up. I know you went to university in Southern California. Are you from there, or how did you end up out there?
Yeah, so I was born in Washington State, Spokane, Washington to be exact. Moved down to California and lived pretty much all the way through college in California. I absolutely miss it every day. It's a wonderful place to live. Unfortunately, the cost of living is just a little too high out there. So when I was done with college, my parents had already moved to Alabama at the time, just in Huntsville. Yeah. So I decided to go out there and live with them for a little while and kind of figure out what I wanted to do, which led me to hospitality, the industry. I'd worked in it through college, but really gave it a go and started being a manager at it. Was a manager for a few years and got to really learn the ropes and get promoted up and got to the highest level inside of a restaurant. So I decided to take the great leap that any entrepreneur does and open my own.
Sure.
That was the best and most expensive lesson I ever learned.
Sure. So you started at the Chili's in Huntsville, right? So you were managing Chili's, and is Chili's a franchise? I don't know. Is it a franchise business?
Chili's is a national brand. It's
okay.
They have the baby back ribs, so they're all over the country.
Yep.
Really gave me the roots of the hospitality industry working with them. And then that's when I decided to go to another small bar at Bishop's, which was a kind of a sports bar, dive bar type. Sure. I was able to be the GM there for a few years after that.
And then that's whenever you took your first leap into running your own business. Was that after you left there?
Yeah, I mean, when we first opened up, I was shaking hands and kissing babies as the GM with the 4 guests that we had come in that building. But we slowly built it. It was the busiest bar on that side of town that we were in at one point, and it really got to connect with the community.
Sure. And you were in Huntsville for a while there, man. I love Huntsville. It's a cool town. I think it actually just passed Birmingham as the biggest city in Alabama, right? I think it's growing really fast. Yeah. Correct. So you're up there. So what ended up causing you to transition down to Florida?
So after having my own restaurant concept and obviously loving it but failing at it, I went with a concept, Bonefish Grill. Yeah. And Bonefish Grill really opened up a lot of doors and opportunities for me. So I was able to move to Nashville and took a failing restaurant of theirs that was on the verge of closing, doing $2.1 million. And when I left, we were doing $3.6 million within 3 years.
Wow.
So I was really able to grow that business organically and really kind of gave me some foundations for business building.
Sure.
Um, and so once I was able to build that, they offered me an opportunity to move down to Tampa to take one of their original stores, which is actually where they're based out of.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So you did that, and then looks like you went from there to Firebird's Wood Fired Grill. Is that a local business? Is that a chain also, or?
Yeah, they're mostly in the Northeast. They
Okay.
started developing in Florida market here a couple of years ago. Was able to get the opportunity once my time at Bonefish was done to kind of move out to Orlando for a little while and help them kind of reestablish that location.
Hmm.
Orlando's not for me. It's a wonderful city for a lot of people, but I quickly learned that it just wasn't the town I wanted to be in.
Sure. And so you spent 2 decades probably being, the best of the best in the hospitality industry, and somehow you ended up with a painting franchise. So tell us about that story.
Yeah, so I've always painted. As a hobby, I would always do our homes. I would always help out neighbors and do their homes. So it was always something I loved to do. It was almost therapeutic.
Yeah.
Um, and so when the opportunity came, and last year my dad passed away, unfortunately. So he was very humble to leave me with an opportunity to take on a franchise opportunity.
Sure.
And, going through a bunch of 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Google dives into franchises and being on many, many phone calls, listening to their spiel and their pitches, I landed across Freshcoat, and
Yeah.
it was a great fit for what I was looking to do.
Sure. And for those of us that aren't as familiar with the brand, Matt, where's Freshcoat based out of? How many locations are there, and how long have they been franchising?
Yeah, they've been franchising for a little over 10 years now. They're based out of Cincinnati, Ohio.
Hmm.
There's 192 owners currently
Yeah.
in the system.
Awesome.
With rapid growth right now, they're adding at least 5 to 10 a month, from what I understand.
Yeah, that's great. And you took it over. Did you take over an existing business, or was this a new location?
This was a new location. There was two owners in the Tampa market prior,
Hmm.
but both of them had decided to step away at the time. So when I purchased my location which is kind of a funny story, I purchased my location in Wesley Chapel, and during the training week, I purchased another location. And then just shortly after, I bought out the owner that stepped away his location
Oh,
just
wow.
last week. So it kind of bought me all of Tampa at that point.
Well, that's great. I mean, that's a great market to have, and you certainly went all in on it, right? So you mentioned, you did a lot of research and a lot of conversations with franchises. What was it about Freshcoat where you're like, hey, this is the one I'm going to put some time and money into?
So Freshcoat has systems and operating procedures, which I find very valuable from my
Hmm.
prior career. And going through the conversations and processes with their home office and even other owners, I easily translated what I've done for 20 years into what I feel can be successful with this business.
Sure, sure, absolutely. Yeah. So again, you were, leading teams and people and growing businesses in the hospitality industry. What are the things that you've seen now that you've been in this for a while, Matt, and with your fresh coat that you've taken from that experience and been able to translate really well? And what are some things that, now that you're running a painting franchise, what are the things that you've been surprised that maybe you're not so good at, or you got to spend a little bit more time on, getting better at?
So understanding the industry as a whole was my biggest challenge.
Yeah.
I've done painting as a hobby, like I said, but understanding the nuances and the ins and outs of the industry, that was where my learning curve was. Understanding how to run a business came quite easy to me, fortunately.
Sure.
So I've actually been able to help. There's another owner in the Tampa market just outside of Tampa that I've really kind of helped out with them as much as I can, just understanding business.
Mhm.
But definitely the learning curve for hiring the painters, hiring, the right
Sure.
people it's very similar to restaurants because, and it's funny, I joke with my project manager about this. Hiring painters is like hiring cooks right now.
Sure.
Very much the personalities are the same.
Yep.
The independence is the same. They're always looking for another opportunity unless you just treat them right. And that's what I really
Right.
wanted to do. was treat
Yeah.
your employees right and they'll stay with you.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's good you're able to feed off that experience. I mean, I can't imagine a harder industry to hire in than, the hospitality restaurant business. I imagine that is extremely difficult, but trade services aren't much easier for any example. Now that you've got the business, you've got a great location in Tampa. What are the goals that you have now that this is yours and yours alone to run with? Like, what are you trying to accomplish with the business over the next couple of years?
So my short-term goal right now is to expose Tampa Bay to Freshcoat painters, really get name recognition and brand awareness out there.
Sure.
There's 20 painters to every house, it seems like. So it's one of those where if you could do it right, you can be professional and
Hmm.
show the hospitality that has been ingrained in me to these same clients. That's what's going to set us apart. So brand recognition is step one or goal one
Hmm.
for that. 3-year goal is to really expand into commercial business.
Sure.
That is a untapped market in Tampa right now. There's a
Hmm.
lot of people who do it, but there's not a lot of people who do a lot of it. And that's
Yeah.
what I want to dive into in the 3-year goal.
Yeah. Absolutely. With where you're at in your business right now, Matt, what are you spending your time on? I mean, where does the bulk of your day go as far as focus and energy right now?
So, like many entrepreneurs, we wear many, many hats. So,
Sure.
the bulk of my day is dealing with, clients, having client relations. I'm the salesperson as well. So,
Mm-hmm.
I'm constantly in homes talking with clients and making sure they are taken care of from start to finish in the sales process. And then marketing.
Yeah.
Marketing is crucial to what we do. The mom and pop painters don't market. It's
Hmm.
typically the bigger companies. So how do you stand apart from those companies? It's the biggest challenge. But
Sure.
making sure you're at least doing the same things, if not better, as some of the larger companies out there.
Yeah. Absolutely. One thing I was curious about as we were getting ready to talk, Matt, is from the little bit I know about the hospitality industry, is it's very time consuming, and obviously you ran some successful businesses. Very time consuming, draining. Can take a lot of your energy and focus, and put in a lot of hours. Have you seen a change in your quality of life and the amount of time that you have to put into the business now that you switched to Freshcoat, or is it pretty much the same grind?
Now, it's funny you say that because the reason that drove me into franchise was that quality of life.
Yeah.
There was many years, I have 3 kids. There's many years I missed a lot of things with them. This was the
Hmm.
first year I actually got to spend Mother's Day with my wife.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So it's definitely a change in quality of life. The
Mhm.
hours to me, I'm still working a lot. I'm still doing a lot of things outside of the business hours,
Sure.
but it's a different change of pace. It's a more of a Monday through Friday type.
Good.
I've committed myself and my employees. We will never work a Sunday ever again.
Oh,
So they are very happy about that. And very rarely do we work a Saturday unless needed.
sure. Sure. That's good. I mean, that's one of the reasons you go into business for yourself to hopefully control some of those things, right?
Absolutely.
You mentioned the helping your neighbor in the Tampa market. One of the things I found about franchising isn't necessarily the support and guidance you get from the franchisor, but just the value of having 190 other people that you can call. What have you seen in Freshcoat that, and have you benefited from the franchisees more than maybe you did from the other GMs or owners at Bonefish or some of your other organizations? Like, tell us about that dynamic.
Yeah, that dynamic is great with this company Freshco because anytime I call, someone is either going to answer or they're going to call me back within a few minutes. I very much like to figure things out on my own first because that's how I feel like growth really happens. But
Sure.
if I do need something, there's always somebody there to support me, and always somebody there to answer this question. So that's been a big a growth piece for me as well with this company.
Sure. Sure. You mentioned, Matt, taking care of your team members and particularly in the trade services, that's not always the case for the people doing the actual hard work, right? And what are the things that you're doing that, you feel like is adding value, and is there anything that you've taken from, managing cooks, that you're implementing in your business now that you feel like is helping?
Yeah, and talking with some of the painters that we have working for us, being a human goes a long way, and
Mhm.
not just being a boss barking orders. Shaking their hands, telling them have a great day, bringing them a Red Bull every once in a while, making
Sure.
sure they have water on site. Humanizing what we do and being
Hmm.
able to relate to them, because at the end of the day, they're still people just like me.
Yeah.
And I want them to know that I'm not going to treat myself any better than I'm treating you guys. Just because I have to ride around in a car all day long with air conditioning doesn't mean
Sure.
I don't feel for you. So
Sure.
the human part really gets taken out. And even not just in the painting industry, but a lot of businesses, those owners just don't tend to connect with their employees.
Right. You've got a great market there. You mentioned, you're spending your time on sales and marketing now. What's the next hire for you? Is it someone to do sales? Is it someone to do more production? Like where are you focusing your recruiting efforts right now, to help, grow your business?
Yeah, the next piece for me is really the sales piece. If I can take off that part from my plate, that's going to expand a lot more into the marketing, a lot
Sure.
more into public relations, and just being out there more. So I do have somebody who's in line to come on in the next
Oh,
month. So
great.
she'll be a fantastic addition. She's very much systematic. She understands how systems work. So
Mhm.
I'm very happy that she's going to be joining the team soon.
Awesome. Awesome. So, last question we'll ask for you, Matt, is if you could pick one thing about your franchise brand that it could do better or hopefully gets better as you move forward, what would be the one thing that you would kind of pick out?
Man, that's a tough question. You know, being more thorough in the training process, that was crucial for me because, again, my biggest curve was the painting industry. It wasn't
Mhm.
about the business aspect.
Mhm.
So being able to touch and tailor your training more to what your needs are, that
Mhm.
would be probably the best thing I could say improvement could happen.
Sure, sure. It's interesting, I look at, the things that, the franchises that I own, what they could do better. A lot of times it helps me identify the things that I can do better in my business. Like, maybe you're hiring a salesperson that doesn't have paint industry experience or something like that. So, but maybe they're a really good salesperson. So, you can, a lot of times it helps me identify like, oh yeah, if they're not doing it well, maybe I'm not doing it well either. And
Absolutely.
you can
Absolutely.
identify, right? Awesome. Well, Matt, we want to be respectful of your time. We are so thankful you jumped on with us. We really hope, we can talk again this time next year and hear about how, you know, you're dominating the Tampa market and growing and getting ready to expand into commercial businesses. But we appreciate your time. Anyone that's taking the time to listen to Matt's episode today, we appreciate you. And Matt, to wrap us up, we'd ask you to leave us with your elevator pitch.
Yeah, so Freshcoat Painters is a professional painting company in the Tampa market. We absolutely take care of our clients from the time you welcome us into your home to the time we finish the project through thorough standard operating procedures and thorough checklists as we do our projects. You will always have myself or the project manager there every step of the way, even after we're gone. If you ever need anything, don't ever hesitate to ask. We're always going to be here for you.
And Matt, how do we find your business online and how do we get a hold of you?
So the easiest way to look us up is freshcoatpainters.com / Tampa. That is our location. And if you'd like to get a hold of us at any time through email, my email is mboden at freshcoatpainters.com. That's MBODEN. Or you can call us at any point, 813-998-6698. My phone's always on.
Awesome. Thanks again, Matt.